Ooh, a fresh pie. Save me a slice. That's good. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's... All right, that's good. Okay. All right, okay, all right. Okay, that's good. That's good. It's enough slices!
I have to wonder if Hollywood is simply out of ideas. Live actions, remakes, continuations, and spin offs seem to be the only thing that Hollywood keeps on producing and producing and producing. But something that is taking the world by storm is taking animated media and turning it into live action. I say it in quotations because the reality is that most of it is animated anyway. The majority of it is CGI, which is a form of animation. With the new Snow White and Lilo and Stitch trailers, I think it's really important that we discuss these so-called live actions and their impact on the industry as a whole. So why is the industry so obsessed with live action? You might think that turning animated movies into live actions is a relatively recent concept. However, Disney has been doing this for well over 3 decades. Live actions have been a thing for a while, and some of your most beloved movies are probably either live actions or remakes. Remember 1994's 101 Dalmatians? That was a live action version of the 1961 animated version. But at this point in time, live actions are relatively rare. Remakes were more so the style. Think of The Parent Trap. When I was a kid, I could have sworn up and down that the version with Lindsay Lohan was the original version. It's not, in case you were wondering. So what exactly is the difference between live actions and remakes? Live action refers to creating a movie from scratch, using live actors and live locations. And remakes are creating a movie all over again in the same medium as the original. I feel the need to state that despite the title of this video, some of my favorite movies are actually live actions. Have you ever seen Scooby-Doo or Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed? As a film bro, let me tell you, that is cinema. Not all live actions are bad, but we'll get to that later. That being said, let's start off with the main culprit, Disney. I'm going to be using Disney as our main case study due to their massive impact on the industry, animation or not. At this point, Disney has released so many live actions, it's hard to keep track. The Lion King from 2019 was probably the worst offender when it came to live actions. It was completely animated. The director himself said that there was no performance capture used for the movie. So considering that both the original and the 2019 version of The Lion King are animated, why did the remake fail? Well, there's this little thing called suspension of disbelief. While watching a movie, have you ever said something like, well, that doesn't make sense. That wouldn't work. This would never happen in real life. That's because you are using rational and critical thinking. Hopefully. This type of questioning often happens more when a movie more closely resembles our own reality. This is when suspension of disbelief comes in. When you're establishing a world with its own rules from the beginning, it comes to a point where you see something so ludicrous on screen, and yet you still say, yeah, that makes sense. It's so that when you are watching a movie about talking cows and a man that can mind control them with yodeling, you won't question it. It makes sense within that world. The original Lion King established its own rules. We know that animals can't talk. Sorry if I'm the one breaking the news to you. The world doesn't turn colorful and animals break into song and dance. But that world was established from the beginning, and we chose to buy into those rules. However, when you have something so close to your own reality, it makes it harder to suspend your disbelief. Just take a look at the difference between these two clips from Just Can't Wait to Be King. They're both using the same medium. So yes, the type of medium used is important, but also how it's used. At the end of the day, mediums are tools for us to tell a story. Adding the crazy colors, the dance sequences with all the animals, that could only make sense if that reality was further away from your own. And that's one of the main appeals of the original movie. At this point, we can't even call the 2019 version of The Lion King a live action. According to the definitions that I gave you, it's more so a remake. But I digress. This is where we have to talk about one of my favorite topics. The Uncanny Valley. If you missed my video about Shrek 5, I give a more in-depth description of what the Uncanny Valley is, if you want to go check that out. My topic sample for this is yet another 2019 movie, Cats. Here's the thing. When you are going to the theater to watch a musical live, you are buying into that world's rules, activating your suspension of disbelief. If you know anything about musicals, it's well established that Cats is a crazy production. Turning those costumes into realistic CGI with human faces makes it look insane. Are they naked? Why do some wear clothes and others don't? You're asking these questions because you don't believe in the world they are presenting you with. And honestly, why would you? The human-like dancing in the body of a realistic-looking cat with human feet and hands, who's in 2 feet instead of all 4s. It just looks insane. It's neither cat nor human at that point. It's just this weird Franken cat. So in making things more realistic with CGI, you, in turn, force the audience into an uncomfortable position where they won't buy the rules of the world you created. So now that we've established why live actions aren't even live actions, and they don't suspend your disbelief, why are they still getting made? Great question. Glad you asked. There are many reasons why I believe this type of movies keep getting made. The main one being corporate greed. That's right, eat the rich. These billionaires have found a way to write absolutely nothing new and keep feeding you the same story over and over again without any effort by simply banking on the nostalgia factor. And we're all susceptible to it. I myself was incredibly excited for when the Lion King live action movie came out because I'm a huge fan of the original. This is a win-win scenario for studio heads, since you'll either go see the movie because of your nostalgia, or you'll hear how bad it is, and due to our morbid nature as humans, you'll want to see the wreckage yourself. Either way, they get to spend less money on creating a movie that they know is going to get numbers on the box office, all the while underpaying their animators, and either way, they still get their profit. Being realistic, these live actions will never have the same cultural impact as their original counterparts. This might be a bit of a hot take, but even Disney Channel original movies have more of a cultural impact than some of these live actions. Hopefully, you've seen that by now, live action movies actually rely heavily on animation. Animation is a great tool, and it helps drive a story that may not be able to exist in our world. And all I'm asking is that if they're going to continue to use animation in these live actions, that they at least give it the space to be as creative as they can be. There are tons of worlds that can only be told through this medium that will never be able to be told in live action. At least not with the same results. I mean, the laws of physics don't work the same in our world versus the animated world. And even then, the so-called Disney animation has become so monotonous that the viewers are tired of seeing it. And I actually don't mind when you mix media. It can be another really cool way of telling a story. One of my personal favorite examples of this is Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
In other words, the whole damn town knows you. Come on, get out of here. Come on.
You're making a big mistake. I didn't kill anybody. I swear.
The way they integrate animation in live action is not only iconic, but it works incredibly well. Same thing goes for movies like Space Jam. I just want them to stop calling them live actions when that is not what they are. And if they're gonna do something again, I want them to stop half-assing it. There are clear examples that it can work. After this whole rant, you may be dreading the entirety of Hollywood right now. But I have to say that there are plenty of great studios out there. So let's take a look at one of my personal favorites, A24. A24 is an indie studio that has produced some of the greatest movies in the last couple of years. They're able to use animation in order to expand the worlds that they are creating. One of the best examples of this, and that does suspension of disbelief incredibly well, is Everything Everywhere All at Once. This movie was insane in the greatest way possible. It's one of the best mother-daughter relationship representations that I've seen maybe ever, with one of the greatest messages ever written. Nothing matters. This movie shows that good cinema can still be made, especially in this world of movie recycling. Rather than trying to cater to the critics or to what the Academy might want to receive accolades, they instead choose to write from the heart. I know it sounds cheesy, but they write about stories that are important and need to be told. Why do we believe in everything that happens in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and not in The Lion King? It's all in the boiling frog. If you put a frog in boiling water, it will jump out. But if you put it in cold water and slowly start to heat it up, it will sit there and boil. That is what's happening in these stories. In The Lion King, we're immediately greeted by animals that give off an uncanny valley vibe. You know that they're supposed to look realistic, and they sort of do, but they also look animated. It's weird, and you jump immediately out of the boiling water. In Everything Everywhere All at Once, however, it starts off as a relatively normal movie, where if you're not paying attention, you'll miss the little weird things happening in the background. And then it comes to a point where you are watching people with hot dogs as fingers, and you don't even question it. It's the boiled frog. This is what makes it much more likely that you'll buy the suspension of disbelief, even with the weirdest things happening on screen. This is what Disney does not know how to do. The reality is that every single human has a unique way of looking at the world. And instead of participating in these factory-made stories, they choose to dare to create their own. The industry now is all about profit, instead of what it was created to be, telling stories through art. I urge Hollywood to take a look at A24 as an example of what cinema could become. So if you, like myself, are tired of these mediocre movies getting thrown at us by studios like Disney, there's a very cutesy and very demure and powerful tool that you might have heard of: boycotting. Unfortunately, in our world, money is power, and it's how you make your voice heard. So a way for them to stop creating live actions and remakes is to stop watching them. It's as simple as that. Let your money speak for you. So speaking of boycotting and making your voices heard, you can head to the link in the description below in order to see what companies to boycott to help Palestine and the people of Gaza. Make your voice heard. Okay, bye!